Yo, what's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video. This is my end of season tier list for 2024, ranking all 32 of the NFL teams. I'm going to be going in the order that they have it in the tier list here, which I believe is alphabetical order. I think it is at least. So yeah, I'm going to go in that order. But yeah, man, just going to try and breeze through this, give you short, simple explanations for everything. And as always, here's my opinion. It's not a factual tier list. But with that being said, if you're new and you're not subbed yet, go ahead and drop a sub for me. As I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs. We're on the road to 1K. We're really close to 700 right now, which is absolute insanity. Thank all of you so much for blowing up my other videos and for subbing. This is absolutely insane. And if you are subscribed already, go ahead and share this video for me. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this tier list. Again, my opinion, but if you have any other opinions, please fire me up in the comments, bro. It'll be all right. Or I'll be all right. And with all that being said, let's get it started with the first team, which is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I have like a few teams in mind already that I think can go in the bottom tier of F. Arizona's not one of those teams, but I also don't think Arizona did good enough for me to warrant putting them in a C tier. So I'm going to put them in a D tier. I know they got Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray is decent. He does what he needs to do sometimes. But their defense, especially towards the end of the season, looked horrendous. Rush defense got obliterated, or their running defense got obliterated. The Panthers showed how weak that rushing defense was, and then yeah, so hopefully the Cardinals can pick it back up next season. But I don't think anything too crazy with that one. Yeah, let's move on. The Falcons, they could they could slot in the C tier. They could slot in the C tier. I don't think they're good enough for B tier. I believe they were 8-9 to end the season, or 9-8. I don't remember. One of the two. But they were so up and down that I feel like middle of the tier list is good for them. Like some games it looked like they were playoff contenders. Other games not so much. And it's like, what the hell is Kirk Cousins doing? He's throwing like 8 interceptions a game, or did he throw 12 straight interceptions without a touchdown or something? I believe that was the stat. Don't exactly remember. Don't quote me on any of this stuff. But yeah, that's disappointing because I really thought Atlanta would be a lot better this season. I already thought last season that Atlanta's defense was good, was good, and then they went and got Matthew Judon from the Patriots and uh, Denver's corner or safety. I forget his name. It's blanking right now. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you know who I'm talking about. So I thought Atlanta would be way up there defense alone, but turns out unfortunately that was not the case for them, and so I think middle of the pack is where they're gonna stay for now. Moving on, Baltimore gonna be the first team I'm gonna throw in S tier. It's hard to say that they're not in S tier. I'm not basing it just off making the playoffs. Trust me, you'll see that later. It's not just because they made the playoffs. Baltimore looked like a legitimate threat to win the Super Bowl all season. Unfortunately, when it came time for the playoffs, they did good in their first game, and then had that game against the Bills that was very close, but couldn't pull that one off. But Baltimore had an amazing season. Lamar was in the MVP talks again. Derrick Henry doing what Derrick Henry does and being absolutely unstoppable. And their running defense was incredible, but their secondary was struggling, so struggling for a good part of that season. But besides that, their offense was on fire all season. They had some close games that they ended up pulling the wins off of. Even when the defense was struggling, they were still coming out there on offense and putting up equally as many points. Tucker looked a little bit off this season. He wasn't making some of those long kicks. Maybe because of something that we know now, but we'll skip that and move on to the Buffalo Bills, who are also going to go in S tier. Now, where do I want to put them, above or below the Ravens? I know that they beat the Ravens in the playoffs, so maybe I should put I don't know. I think I'm going to leave them below the Ravens for now. Maybe that'll change later in the video. We'll see if I want to swap it around, right? But Buffalo, again, hard to argue that they weren't S tier. Everybody was saying they were going to be bad. I think even me included. They lost Stephon Diggs. They lost a lot of that offensive talent. I thought they were going to fall hard. I didn't think Josh Allen was bad, but I didn't think that he would be able to do much without any offensive weapons, but damn, did he make it work. And that MVP of his was deserved this year. I think personally at least. So, because it is the most valuable player for a team, and I think that Josh was incredibly valuable to the Bills. Without him, I don't know where they would have been this season. Because even that defense was really touch and go at times as well, and the Bills were having to answer with a lot of points. So yeah, we'll leave them in S tier, and we'll leave that point there. The Panthers. Please, Panthers fans, don't hate me. I have a Panthers fan coworker. He's gonna hate me for this. Come on, like they might sit at the top of F tier, but they're down there. Finished the season. What were they? Four in. Hold on, I'm gonna check. 5-12. They finished the season 5-12. You play Bryce for 2 games. He doesn't do great. Switching to Andy Dalton. Then Bryce comes back and Bryce looks awesome. That's great for you guys. But you know why you're down there. I don't think I have to really give a full explanation on why I don't think the Panthers are a tier above where they are right now. Yeah, it's a rebuild year. Let's hope you guys can get it together because Chuba Hubbard looks really good. Bryce looks like he's excited and ready to go. And then you got Adam Thielen and that other rookie wide receiver that you drafted that has the really strong accent that people can't understand, really. I forget his name exactly. Forgive me. But yeah, you guys are there. It's just a rebuild. Hopefully you'll be bumped up to maybe even B tier next season. But moving on from them, we got the Chicago Bears. Do I have to say much? Do I have to? No, people are going to argue, but boy, they didn't do that bad. Oh, Yogi Bear. It's the Chicago Bears. They have a new head coach again, and not a rookie anymore. It'll be a sophomore year, Mr. Caleb Williams, and a promising offensive unit that I thought would have had something done, but then again, they didn't have an O-line. Draft well, get the line for Mr. Caleb Williams, get some defensive help, not too much, but a little bit, and you guys should be good because I thought you were going to be pretty good this year, but I don't know. Caleb shut people up about the hate or maybe prove them right. Who knows? Anyway, moving on. Cincinnati. Now, I'm trying to not be biased here. I'm usually pretty unbiased, or I like to think that I'm unbiased when I do these things, because I know that when I do my reaction videos, I'm very hypocritical of them, and I try not to glaze them too much. So with being unbiased, they don't get S tier. In any world, they don't get S tier. But they get A tier. And they might get top of A tier. Maybe bottom. Who knows? They get A tier, though. We were 9-8. Finished the season positive. I know we didn't make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to... I know that. But Burrow had an incredible... Burrow and Chase together just had an awesome season. Forget their individual accolades. The two of them were terrifying to go up against. And then we have T on top of that, and T was injured for the beginning of the season and then out for more games in the middle of the season. Our offensive line looked terrible compared to what it was, because we went from having like the worst O-line, or excuse me, one of the worst O-lines in the league the year we went to the bowl, to then improving on it, and then somehow we went back down. I know we had injuries, but even when we started to get some of those players back, the line didn't look great. And then on top of all of that, and the reason that they might move down in A tier, they probably will move down in the A tier, is our defense. We played like kindergartners, worse than kindergartners at times. I don't know if that's talent or coaching. We've had Lou since I believe 2018. Maybe it was earlier, maybe it was 1 year later, but I believe it was around 2018 we got Lou Anaromo. So happy we moved on from him. No disrespect to Lou, but it was just time for a change. Whether he was the issue or it was the talent that was the issue, who knows? But a change had to be made. It took way too long to make that change with our defense being in the low for all those years. But yeah, I'm going to stop harping on it and move past it. We're going to leave them in A. We'll see where they move on afterwards. The Cleveland Browns. I'm unsure. They could be the bottom of D. No, no, you're gonna go in F also. I'm sorry. I don't know if I have the heart to put them in D. We'll see later. But like you decide to move on, or do you decide to move forward with Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Watson doesn't play well, then gets hurt again. Then you have Jameis Winston come in, and he's basically just a filler because you don't have a good backup QB. You get Nick Chubb back, and he was a unit for you guys. I'm so happy. Imagine if you didn't have Nick Chubb this season. Wow. And then you not let, I don't want to say let, but Amari Cooper goes to the Bills, right? It was a trade. I understand why you would do that. And now Myles Garrett walks at the end of the season. Does that have anything to do with this season? No, because Myles Garrett also was tied with Trey, or was Trey above him at the end of the season for sacks? I don't exactly remember. No disrespect if I have those stats wrong. I'm just not fact checking. I'm going off of what I remember right now. But all in all, you went from playoffs last year to whatever the hell this was this year, and you need to rebuild everything now because now Miles is probably gone. Deshaun might have breached his contract because he's not going to play next season because he tore his Achilles not even at practice, and now what do you have to work with? Maybe Cam Ward or Shador Sanders. That's beautiful, but it's a rebuild now. And I'm just going to leave you guys in F tier. We're going to move on. Dallas. You're not in the... No, you might be. No, you might be. Nah, no, you're not that bad. But we're gonna toss you in D. Actually, we'll above the Cardinals. What were you? 7-8 or something? Something like that. That you can go above Arizona for now. But Dallas, it's just more of the same every year with them, isn't it? Like high expectations. Maybe you start off good. Maybe this is our year, and then just Dak gets hurt again. You play Cooper Rush. You re-sign Zeke for whatever reason, and then he's not good, and you don't use him. What have you? CD is like the best thing you have on that offense. You tried Trey Lance out, and that didn't work either. And then even Micah Parsons gets hurt, and that defense is lacking because of it. And also you have Trayvon Diggs, and I don't remember were him and Micah both hurt at one point. I don't even remember, but it's way more disappointing than we expect from Dallas, at least before the playoffs. Like Dallas usually makes it to the playoffs and then disappoints. I don't even know if that statement was true because it's not always true. Either way, Dallas, there was higher hopes. There always is. There was higher hopes. You didn't do that great. I cannot give you anything higher than D because you weren't middle of the pack. You were worse than middle of the pack, but you weren't the worst of the worst. So we'll leave you there and we'll move on. Moving on, we got Denver. And Denver, you can calmly sit in C tier above Atlanta because coming into this season with a rookie quarterback and no real offensive talent except for Cortland Sutton, right? I believe they did really well. The defense was pretty fucking good. Sean Payton is a good head coach, and Bo Nix really showed out in his rookie season. You get Bo Nix some extra talent on that offense, that defense stays where it is, and then maybe even improves a little bit. Denver's gonna be a fucking scary team next season, I think. Maybe not Super Bowl contending, but definitely playoff contending, and that takes up a spot for some of the other teams that in the AFC that there's a lot. There's a lot of competition there in the AFC, and Denver's just going to become another one of those competitors, So props to Denver. Middle of the pack is I think, a good rating for you guys. And we will move on. The Detroit Lions can go in S tier, and I think they can go at the top of S tier. Why did my screen not move up? Yeah, I could put them above both of these teams because for consistency for the season, Detroit was above. 100%. Detroit had the offense, all the talent on offense, the diabolical head coach and Dan Campbell, and sometimes a little too crazy. And then the defense loses pretty much all of their defense and is still holding teams to barely any points. And if they can't hold teams to barely any points because you play teams the likes of the Ravens, the Bills, what have you, then the offense just outscores them on most of those games. Hell, you had a game where Goff threw 5 interceptions and they still won. Like, I know what happened in the playoffs. I watched the game. I saw what happened. But it's hard to argue that they weren't one of the like a top 3 team this season throughout the whole season. I know one game decides your fate in the playoffs, and that's what it is. But throughout the season, we're not just counting winning the playoffs and winning the bowl or whatever as for this tier list. The Lions deserve to be an S tier, and they're gonna sit at the top until I get to some of these other teams because they were incredible, incredible. Green Bay. Green Bay is going to be my first team in B tier. I don't think I can put them in A, but they're also not middle of the pack. They were definitely better than these two teams. I don't think they were on Cincinnati's level. No offense. I don't think they were on Cincy's level, and then any other team that I'm going to put in here. So B tier for them. Not bad, but not like excellent. Um, they were they made the playoffs. They did have a lot of injuries that ended up costing them. Jair Alexander got hurt, and then they had like 4 injuries in that playoff game, like 3 or 4 like crucial injuries in that playoff game. So I think you get some good picks this season. You'll be back next season, but like overall, Green Bay really was not like horrible this season. I think B tier is good for them. The Texans. Now you make a playoff run. CJ is having a sophomore slump. You also had probably the best receiver trio in the league, or I would think at least. And Tank Dell didn't really show up that much. One of the best receiver trios in the league. Let me hold my words. And then Joe Mixon, who, for his age, is looking like Saquon Barkley sometimes. I think you can go middle of C tier. You're better than the Falcons were. You were better than the Broncos too, weren't you? For some of the season. Mm, I like that. I like putting them there for now. CJ was having a slump. The offensive line was horrendous. And the defense at times was also kind of on a roller coaster. But you did make a playoff run. Granted, with some help because your division was horrible. You make a playoff run and you won the first round of the playoffs, which a lot of people didn't think you would do. And I think that those injuries don't happen. If all those injuries don't happen, you make a deeper playoff run, maybe. But again, I'm not counting playoffs as the only thing for this whole tier list. It was the games as well. Some of those I think it came down to CJ being pressured in the pocket so much. If CJ had a little bit more time in the pocket, that team would have been ridiculous. But CJ was getting pressured almost all season because that pocket was just collapsing. So yeah, we'll just put them in C tier. Move on from them. The Indianapolis Colts. I Where do I want them to go? I'm gonna try not to overthink this too much. I'm just gonna put them in D tier. Maybe we'll move them up to C tier. They were 8 and 9. They weren't that bad, but Anthony Richardson was taking himself out of the game, and they just weren't playing incredible in all other games. It was really close. It always came down to the wire, or most of their games, at least to my knowledge, came down to the wire. Again, I didn't see every single game of theirs. Not fact checking this. Please let me breathe. But yeah, there was just there's not enough there for me to warrant you a C tier where I think the Falcons are, the Texans are, and the Broncos are. But you're also not as bad as those 3 teams underneath you. So yeah, we'll leave you top of D tier. Maybe the Cowboys are above you. Leave you there for now and move on. The Jacksonville Jaguars. So a lot of their games were actually a lot closer than people like gave them credit for. Like a lot of the Jags games were like 1 or 2 score games. But I think coaching is a real big issue. Trevor didn't play great for most of the season, then got injured. And your defense also didn't look incredible to my knowledge of what I know. To my knowledge of what I know. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're on the smart pills today. A lot of your games were 1 score, and so I can't discredit that, but also like yeah, no, okay, you'll go top of F, maybe bottom of D. No, no, do I think you're as bad? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I would put you down there. I would. I would. Okay, we'll leave them there. We'll move on. The Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I may or may not get flamed. We'll see. This can change This might change with what I'm thinking. Nah. I won't get flamed. I don't think. But they're gonna sit in the bottom of S tier, and I think they are gonna be the bottom of S tier unless I come up with something else for one of these other teams. They, they're the Chiefs. What do you want me to say? They're the Chiefs, right? Too many close games. Too many close games that were on some weird calls, and I know like every team has that. Yes, every team has that, but they had it way too often. They didn't look good like at all for the beginning of the season. Their games were way too close, and they it looked like they were going to get to the playoffs and fall. Then they start getting people back off of injuries, and it looks like they're getting their stuff back together, and it's just Kansas City again. You know, you got Mahomes, Reed, and then all the offensive weapons that they pulled together. Travis Kelsey and their defense has always just kind of been there. They're not great, but they're not bad. They're just enough to stop the other team, and the offense can put up enough points to beat the other team. So they can be in S tier and they can be at the bottom of S tier. Not not bad enough for A tier, but I don't think that they're good enough for any spot above the other teams in S tier. Not there, not that are there at least right now. The Raiders. Yeah, yeah. Were they the worst? No. I have something to drop under them, but in for now, out of this list, yes, they were the worst there. I like the order that this is in right now because Chicago, to be honest, might have been better than Carolina for most of the season, but I don't think so. I think from what I was seeing, Chicago was disappointing for the talent they had, so I'm gonna leave them there. And then the Raiders, man, got to get it together. You get Cam Ward or Shador or there's another QB. I don't remember. You need a quarterback. Gardner Minshew was not about to be your quarterback. I know it was just filling a slot, but you needed to try harder than that than Gardner Minshew. You have one of the best defensive players in the league in Max Crosby with no help. It's just him. And then you have my favorite player from the last draft, Brock Bowers, being an absolute unit for your team this year. Like offensive rookie of the year, finalist. We'll call it finalist. For some reason, I couldn't think of the word finalist, and just an incredible season. But that's it. That's it. You have Bowers. You have Max Crosby. That's it. You have a quarterback that can get the ball to Brock Bowers. That's about it. No real offensive talent. Besides that, the defense is all right. Just, just there. Just get it together. How are you in the playoff? We played you in the playoffs a few years ago. I don't know what happened. It's always a roller coaster with you guys. Anyway, moving on. Los Angeles Chargers. Where do I want to put them? I think I'm okay with this. I think I'm okay with this because they were better than the Bengals. They're not a B tier team. They think they're an A tier team. They fell apart in that first playoff game against the Texans, but for coming into a new year with a new head coach, um, Herbert and no real offensive talent except for the amazing rookie Lad McConkey. Yeah, you could say an A tier. There was some injuries that happened, and I don't know how much of a defense you guys really had this season, but making it to the playoffs is something. And I always think the Chargers are like a sleeper team. So yeah, we'll leave them at the top of A tier for now because I think out of that and the Bengals, they work better than Cincy. So moving on from that, LA is going to go in the B tier, and they are going to go underneath Green Bay. I think LA is incredible when they're healthy and not injured. They had, if I'm not mistaken, a rookie that came in on the D line to replace Aaron Donald, and he did a good job of filling that slot. He wasn't Aaron Donald, but for what shoes he was filling, he did an incredible job. You have Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup on the offense, Kyron Williams, Tutu Atwell, like a real big offensive unit. But I just don't think that everything came together the way they needed it to, and there was some injuries that happened. And what was the record to end the season? I believe they were 10-7, and I think the Packers were 11-6. And again, I'm not basing it just off of that, but yeah, I think LA being second behind Green Bay and B tier for now is good. Miami Dolphins. Man, I would love to put them in B tier. I really would, but I think they're gonna go in C. Are they gonna go above? They're gonna go above Denver. They're gonna go above Denver. This is weird, and some people are gonna question this, but again, it's just my opinion. I might change this around a little bit later. Top of C tier because I think the Dolphins are smack in the middle of everything. I think at the beginning of the season, I think that Miami's going to do something, and then the season starts, and they almost lose to the Jags game one, and it's a weird roller coaster with Miami. Tua gets hurt, and it seems like the team just falls apart, which is so strange. Like not just the offense, the whole team. Tua got hurt, and it looked like the whole team crumbled. Like Mike McDaniels had no idea what to do with the team. I think that there was a coaching issue in there, and if they don't get it together, I don't. Mike McDaniel's might be on the hot seat this season if they don't get it together. But they do need to give Tua more time in the pocket. That's not entirely just on McDaniel's, but yeah, no, I don't know. You can't have Raheem Mostert and Achan, Tyreek Hill, Waddle on that offense, and then have Tua be the key factor to that. You should be able to throw like a mid quarterback in there and still have that offense work. And so that comes down to coaching, in my opinion. And then the defense also was very good last season. This last season was when they went to the playoffs with not Mike White, who was their backup QB at the time. They went to the playoffs with the backup QB and almost beat the Bills. That's all I remember. But either way, higher expectations for Miami, low actual, and so yeah, just gonna throw Miami in C tier and call it a day. Top of C tier. Minnesota Vikings. My God, you surprised me, and you will go above the Kansas City Chiefs in the S tier. Not above the Bills, above the Chiefs. I'm happy with this. Above the Kansas City Chiefs in the S tier. I'm like, oh, JJ McCarthy got hurt. They're not gonna have an incredible season, and then Sam Darnold comes in out of nowhere, and it's just like, wow, this team is still very scary. Looked like they were a Super Bowl threat for a while too. And yeah, like incredible coaching the whole season. Justin Jefferson is incredible. Jordan Addison, Sam Darnold played out of his mind for most of the season. The defense too. A lot of people see that they let up a lot of yards or whatever, like passing or yeah, passing yards and rushing yards. But Minnesota has a very like the way it was described to me or the way that I was taught about this when I played was a bend don't break defense. It's like you kind of let through, like let a little bit, they'll bend, but then when it comes time to stop a touchdown, they don't break. And that's what Minnesota did for most of the season. Towards the end, some stuff started to go wrong for them. I don't know if it was. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to sit here and try and question that. But overall, for the season and this tier list, S tier. Absolutely, Minnesota deserves an S tier. The New England Patriots. Probably gonna go the bottom of D tier? Maybe the top of F because they were 4-12 or 4 and whatever, weren't they? Yeah, they really didn't look that good. And to be completely honest with you, they should have 3 wins, not 4. But my team, that team, the Cincinnati Bengals, cannot win opening games to start our life. So yeah. So yeah, New England's gonna go F tier. I don't know if I put them even top of F tier actually. Hmm. Oh, where do I put the Patriots? I still don't think Jacksonville was that bad. They had like a good amount of close games. Cleveland had a difficult schedule and a lot of injuries. I do think New England was better than Carolina. And Chicago, I have my own thing with Chicago in my head that they should have just been better, so that's why they're so low. Realistically, Chicago is flipped. We'll put New England here because I think that they were better than Carolina overall. Um, Vegas shouldn't be at the bottom. Whatever, I'll fix it later. Fix it in a minute. Not going to speak too much on it. Rookie quarterback, new head coach, no real offensive weapons. You lost your best defensive player. You have Christian Gonzalez though, who is very good. So rebuild. Pats will be back, I think at least. Another new head coach. Now you have Vrabel too. Yeah. Anyway, um, let me flip it around a little bit. Chicago's gonna go there. Vegas is gonna go underneath Chicago. I don't think Vegas is that good. So Carolina is the bottom until now, until we get to the New Orleans Saints. What happened? What happened? I there wasn't like the most expectations, but what happened? The fucking house fire? Like, I don't even know. I don't. There's not a lot to. They beat the first two teams they played by like 40 points, and they were on the highest high, and then it was just downhill for the rest of the season. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm not even gonna. We're not gonna talk about it too much. Just downhill. I like you ended up worse than Carolina in my opinion. Carolina started low, went kind of middle ground, and then ended on a high. I think because I think you end on that hype of Bryce getting into his groove and winning, and Chuba Hubbard being great. The Saints was just all downhill, all all downhill. So we'll leave them there. I a similar boat actually, and I think maybe a contender for the lowest spot. We'll see about flipping these two around is going to be the Giants. You let Saquon go. Daniel Jones is terrible, like awful. No offense to Daniel Jones. I know how hard it is to play in the National Football League. Or sorry, I don't know how hard it is to play in the National Football League because I don't do it. So I know that it's difficult. But my God, I'm so positive so many other players could have done 30 times better than what you did. Yeah, and then having to go from Daniel Jones to Tommy DeVito and whoever else their other quarterback was that I forget. Drew Lock was it Drew Lock? I don't remember. Yeah, no, New York is also just in the same boat of the Saints of what the fuck happened. Why would you let Saquon go? I know you got Malik Neighbors and he looked really good. So, oh, and their defensive line actually wasn't that terrible. So you have potential, but this past season, garbage. Similar, the New York Jets. Above Carolina because you weren't Carolina bad. Above Vegas maybe because I don't. Yeah, yeah, I'm cool with that. Somehow I think Chicago was better than you. To be honest, New England being here is kind of a fucking. Yeah, I'm not happy with New England being where they are because Jacksonville close games, Cleveland boom, New England, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be there. Put you above Carolina. I still think you were better than Carolina, but you weren't incredible. It put you there. I don't like the Jets being that high though. I might have to change that. The Jets are 5-12. They're one better than the Pats and the Raiders, and I guess for that reason I can leave them there. I guess, but I wasn't basing this all off of records. It was similar to Chicago, where you have all this talent. Uh, the Jets organization as a whole is just upsetting, to be honest. But we'll leave them there for now. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I still personally think that the Lions were better all season, so that's where I'm going to leave this. But the Eagles are better than these other teams, and I'll tell you, it's because they were very unstoppable for most of the season. Saquon was on fire. They gave Saquon an actual good offensive line and a team that will use him. And Saquon said, "Watch me, bitch." Jalen Hurts is calm in the pocket, gets the job done. Because when you watch out for Saquon and you plan around Saquon, Hurts can run too. Hurts can get that ball to AJ Brown and Smitty and all these other people. Like yeah, and also they have an incredible offensive line. But moving past the offense, they had they had a top two defense in the league in rushing and receiving. I believe. Let me check that. Let me fact check that. Okay, so I lied. It was just for receiving, not rushing. But either way, incredible defense throughout the year with rookies, with a lot of young people on that defense. And then you get to the bowl and they rush four the whole game, zero blitz, and they had 6 sacks and 21 pressures, if I'm correct. correct me on that in the comments if I'm wrong. If you make it this far in the video, but yeah. So like Philly. Philly was never not going to be up here. That defense alone could have got them this high up. And then that offense with Saquon, with Jalen, with all that talent they have on the offense was just incredible. Deserve the S tier. Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm thinking top of A tier, right? Because they're not worse than Cincy. They did better than Cincy for most of the season in terms of getting the job done when they needed to. They beat us, and I think that they're better than LA was. So yeah, I'm cool with them at top of A. Um, Pittsburgh is always kind of just there. I think Tomlin is a really good regular season coach. I don't know what happens in the postseason. I really don't, or even when the season starts to end. But you have TJ Watt and other players on that defense that I can't remember the names of. Sorry, no disrespect, Steelers fans. I just can't remember it. Boswell is a kicker. You bring Russ in, and I thought it was a horrible idea, but then they turned Russ into old Russ again, and he didn't have all the noise of Denver, and Russ actually looked fucking great. You have Najee over there doing his thing. Pickens sometimes being a top 10 receiver in the league, sometimes not. And then you have Freiermuth and yeah, I think the Steelers did well overall this season. I don't really have too much to say about them. I don't think there's a problem with them being an A tier. Nothing too crazy, nothing too crazy on the good side or the bad side. So, yeah, leave them an A tier. The 49ers can cop maybe the bottom of C. Yeah, I don't think they're do I put you on par with them or with them? The answer is no. Honestly, yeah, top of D, because they're good, but McCaffrey's hurt for half the season. You don't really have much to work with. You ended up with a not so great record. I don't remember what it was. That whole division was close, but not for good reasons. And even your defense, which I thought would be really good, really wasn't. And so I can't put you on par with these teams because I definitely think that all of these teams would take it to you in the regular season, and then somehow if you manage to sneak to the playoffs, would also lose to all of these teams. So yeah, you could stay at the top of D tier because I think you're better than all of them. So just my opinion. We'll leave it there. Right? Seattle gonna go in. They're gonna go in D tier. I'm trying to not base this just off of records and base this off of what I saw throughout the whole season. Dallas might have been better than them, honestly. Nah, no, I don't really think so. I'm happy with that. Seattle can go above Dallas, above Arizona, because they performed pretty well. They were 10 and something, I believe, if I'm not correct about that. But I don't think that they were better than Indy, and I definitely don't think they were better than San Fran. I think San Fran wins that divisional matchup, 8 times out of 10. Let's say 8 times out of 10 this season. Like I'm talking about, they face each other this season. Tampa's gonna go at the bottom of B because they're better than them. They're better than these teams. Baker is a dog. You know who else is a dog? Mike Evans. Um, and that entire offense, that defense is also very underrated, I think. So they're gonna go at the top of B because I don't put them on this tier, but I don't think they're better than LA or Green Bay. So bottom of B, just leave it there. I'm not going to try and go too in depth with that because I don't remember that much about their season. The Tennessee Titans. Now, part of me wants to give them benefit of the doubt because they had the best receiving defense in the league. Go look at that. Go look at those stats. I know because I looked at the end of the season. Philly was second to the Titans in receiving or passing yards allowed or whatever it is. Tennessee had an incredible year defensively. Offensively, what the fuck were they actually? Yeah, no. They're worse. I put them under Carolina, to be honest with you. It's these bottom four are very actually maybe even five, maybe six. Maybe this whole F tier. Super interchangeable. Because Tennessee was horrible. New York was horrible. No, I'm not moving the Saints. I really do think the Saints, in my opinion, had the worst year ever. those two games and then just falling on their high horse. But yeah, I think Tennessee there is fine. Will Levis needs to just go back to putting mayo in his coffee and doing advertisements. Maybe he can find a spark somewhere else, but Will Levis is not your guy. He's not. Anyway, moving on, and the final team of this tier list is the Washington Commanders. And now I'm looking to where I want to put them. Because if you ask me personally, they're probably an A tier team, right? But no, they were better than Green Bay. They beat us in the regular season. Am I counting that in this tier list a little bit? Washington might be able to go bottom of S, top of A. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm gonna go top of A, not bottom of S, top of A. Because Washington was a dog this season. And I'm okay with this because I think Washington is beating all of these teams. Every team underneath Washington, I think they're beating. And then every team above Washington, they might beat, but they'd struggle with. So I'm okay with this. Yeah, yeah, I'm happy with that. Jane Daniels played a huge part in that, but that's also coaching, and that's also it's a team game. It's not just Jaden Daniels. He was incredible, but that Washington team as a whole was surprising as to how far they got. Was Jaden a big part of that? Yes. Does that mean he's the only reason? No. So put him at the top of A because again, I think they're beating all of these teams. And I'm not counting what happened this season. I'm just going based off of and I'm not counting like if they did actually beat them in the season or not because I'm not looking at that right now. I'm just doing this off of like memory and what I think about it when I first see it. So yeah, this is my tier list. It took a little bit longer than I wanted. It's probably like a 35-minute video or something like that. I don't know how long it is, but if you stuck around for the whole thing, or even if you skipped around and now you got here, I appreciate you so much. Please share this video with some people, trigger them. I don't care. I'm gonna trigger hella fan bases with this video but it's all right. But it's all right. I am happy with where I put these teams. One final look over here. Yeah, I'm happy with where I put these teams. That entire F tier is interchangeable, by the way. Take this F tier with a grain of salt because it is so interchangeable. But either way, I appreciate you for sticking around. If you've been here this long, make sure to drop a sub for me if you're not subbed already. If you are subbed, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Rate it 1 through 10. Tell me what you would have changed, what you like, what you don't like. Leave a like on the video if you wouldn't mind for me. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.